early, you're late, right?
You're muted.
And Kim, I think what we do is we follow the chat here. We let everybody come in. We then hit the mute all button so we don't have this background chatter.
Yep.
People out there doing deals, leading their teams whilst they're on this training. It's all good stuff.
Can you hear it? Oh, he stopped talking. I'm like, what the hell? Said that.
That's right, Scott.
Remember, don't say shit. You know?
No.
He is a very famous.
Yeah.
Say by AOC. This is like a leadership.
Yeah, it's okay.
Your mom with that mouth? Potty mouth.
And on record as well.
We just racking up the donations for KW Cares with the swear words. It's fine. No big deal. I don't think they'll be too upset with us.
Samuel, I heard that comment too, is I think I was going to record it and clip it so that I could share it with my kids.
Yeah, 100%.
Supply sign.
Yes. And Chrissy already has to ask to join the Facebook group. You go, girl.
Hey folks, while people are joining in as well, share with us in the chat some of the things that you'd like to get out of today's session as well, so we can make use of the time. Just punch some things into the chat, not just where you are, what role you're in. It's like, what are you hoping to get from today? Because Kim and I have a ton planned. Also want to make sure that we're listening to you folks as well.
You want
Yeah.
me to turn it?
Yeah.
Are y'all hot?
It's warm, but where's the
I'm
air?
okay.
Huh?
If you just
Oh.
Yeah.
On right now, but yeah, they won't
Not for 2
accept
seconds.
250.
No, which I didn't tell them that, but I said, hey, at least if for a minimum, send it to them and then I'll grab Terry here and tell her that, hey, at least counter us and something can be worked out.
I'm hoping to learn how to mute.
What is the one saying in your? It's to happen
Well,
every
hello,
day.
Peter.
Appreciate your candor, Mr. McCarthy.
She's still gonna do inspections, but. Well, other than that, well, I give you a full day of tomorrow.
All right, Phil, are we ready to get this started?
Let's go. And we'll hold the waiting room for a while as well so we don't get disrupted, and then maybe create a window where we let a barrage of people in. But we can lock the doors, basically, is what we're going to do, right? Lock the doors, officially Zoom room style.
Yep. So I'm going to mute all, and then if you want to unmute yourself, Phil, we can go ahead and get rolling. All right, perfect. All right, so first off, thank you everybody for joining us for this leadership masterclass today. Phil and I are so excited to be here, and we have a few objectives. It is to help you walk away with a lot of the things that were placed in the chat box of things you're excited about learning here today. And really, it's really how to build and lead a high-performing agent leadership council. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And so what we hope you're going to walk away with today is your value proposition and vision to attract the best of the best to your ALC for 2025. Before we do that, Phil, I did see in the chat box that people are a little bit interested about you and how you got to this place. And so, Phil, why don't you just share a little bit about what led to you becoming exactly what to say master and all with KW.
You bet. And I still don't know what this place is. So when I figure that out, I might be able to give a better answer to it. But I've been in and around the area of people development for somewhere like ever. I started in my first business when I was 14 years of age, started knocking on the doors of my neighbors, asking them if they'd like to have their cars washed. By the age of 15, I was making more money than most of my school teachers, had a team of people who were in the year below with me that were actually cleaning the cars. And I didn't go to school as often as I should. And I continued to build businesses part-time through my teens. I worked my studies alongside my businesses. Didn't want to go to university. Had a great offer, decided I want to go get my education in the workplace. So I became the youngest ever sales manager for a big department store group in the UK, and was running teams of 30, 40, 50 people, turnovers of 8, 10, 12 million pounds a year. And the trouble I had as a young leader at that time is I got a lot of pushback and friction because I was 18, 19, 20, 21 and looked 5, 6 years younger than that. So the immediate prejudice was, what does this kid know? And the only way I learned that I could get results through others was to never give any direct advice. So for example, if I wanted to share with Sarah some ideas that could help her be able to elevate her performance, and Tiffany was the number one in the business at that thing at that period of time, I wouldn't say, Sarah, here's what I think you should do is, I'd say, hey, Sarah, I've been watching Tiffany. And there are 3 things that Tiffany does in that area that are demonstrably better than the way that you do things. Would you be intrigued to understand how perhaps she gets the results that she gets that you don't get? And you'd say, yes, please. So what I started to do was to study top performers as a leadership tool so that I could third party coach other people through the people who were delivering the top of their roles in those given areas. And what I started to learn is that everybody who was awesome at anything, it wasn't just hard work and hustle and product knowledge. It was in the moments that matter. They knew exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. They knew and had brevity, and they had sequences, and they had consistency in what came out of their mouth in the moments that matter. This became an obsession. I was looking for it everywhere. I can't stop looking at, do the words add up? Do the words multiply? Do the words subtract? Do the words divide? And from there, I went and worked in furniture retail and was like obsessed with average transaction value and conversion rates and how we can use words to be able to actually help create increases in speed in transaction. From there, I got involved in the world of professional sport. I was commercial director, head of retail for 2 Premier League soccer clubs. And you learn a lot about people working in pro sport on the commercial side. From there, I started a real estate business. Many of you folks don't know that I did work in real estate for some time. We had an overseas investment property business. We were selling freehold investments in Cyprus to UK investors, partnering with independent financial advisors and going direct to consumer. Would sell somewhere in the region of like 120 units, would sell out full development, would do that in 12 weeks, would then do the same again and again and again and again. Like that was our business model. Would sell a lot of volume quickly. And that takes us through to about 2008. What then happened is I started a little sales training business by accident that was delivering sales skills to people who didn't see themselves as salespeople. So this was leaders, this was professional services, this was health and wellness practitioners that needed to ask for money or ask for change, but hated the idea of being a salesperson. And in that business to where we are right now is I've now worked in over 800 different industries and in 60 different countries, 5 different continents, written 11 books. But still the thing that I'm most famous for in all of that is helping people know exactly what to say, when to say it, and how to make it count. I could teach people 3 days worth of structured training. And what do they want to know? Yeah, but what do I say? What do I say? What do I say? When do I say it? How do I say it? How do I utilize those moments that matter? And that's where that's become an obsession. My tiny little book, Exactly What to Say, has now sold nearly 3 million copies, translated into like 35 different languages. And I wake up every day thinking about how do we help people refine, elevate, and add elegance to their language so that they can help other people make smarter decisions. This is my life's work. So kind of long answer to your short question, Kim, but hope that was useful to people.
I love it. Thanks for sharing. I always love the context of kind of what led you to get here. Before we dive into the content, I will also introduce myself. My name is Kim Zuroff. I have been with Keller Williams for 14 years, and I have been in leadership for 11 of those 14 years, which is just 33% of my life. So that's fun. Prior to real estate, I was in the military. I grew up in the great state of North Dakota, currently live in Maryland. And I think one of the things that I want you all to know about me is that I see you. Over the last 11 years, I've been in the trenches and leadership, and I firsthand understand the challenges that we face day to day inside and outside of the market center, with the agents, with the landscape and the changes in the industry. And one of the things that I'm most passionate about is helping people to develop their leadership lid, because inside and outside of the Market Center, everything rises and falls on us. Now, I became connected with Phil when I attended his certification class in January. Jen Davis organized a core group of coaches that went to New York City, spent a few days with him. And I became really excited and passionate of how his work could help me develop and raise my leadership lid. And I can confidently say that, you know, the work has really helped me finesse the conversations that I'm able to have with the agents, with the ALC, having hard conversations that used to be way harder than they are now. And so I'm super excited for you all to be joining us here today. Our goal over the next 50 minutes is to just add a whole lot of value. And so with that, let's dive in. So Phil, I'm going to start off with my piece. If you want to interject anything, feel free.
You bet.
And then we're gonna roll. So everything rises and falls on leadership, and the success or lack of success of your agent leadership council is in direct correlation to how much we choose to focus on it. There is so many high-performing team leaders and OPs on this call, and I bet y'all are a bit like me, and you've had some years where ALC's been a hit, where you've absolutely knocked it out of the park, and I've had years where it's certainly been a miss. And what I know is that the years that it's been a hit have always been in direct proportion to how much I've chosen to focus on it. Now, Gary created the ALC with two goals in mind. The first goal was to build a market center nobody would want to leave. And the second goal was to build a market center everyone would want to join. And so in this season we're in right now, a high-performing ALC is more important than ever. So what I would love for you guys to do is in the chat box, I want you to put what are some of the benefits of having the top 20% of the top 20% on your ALC versus the lower part of your top 20% on the ALC. Go ahead and put some benefits of what are the benefits of having the top of the top on your ALC versus the lower part of your top 20%. We've got different perspective, leadership mindset, influence, validity. The conversations are different, high production, less drama. Culture, they're the lid. We've got a lot of fantastic answers in the chat box, and yet what I've also found from personal experiences is very similar to some of these things listed. The energy they bring, the level of conversations is way different. The higher the level of agent that we have on our ALC equals more leadership conversations versus leads conversations. And the focus is completely different. The years that we've had a hit with our ALC, it's when the top of our top agents are on and invested and committed to the ALC. People grow into the conversations we create around them. And so when I think of the attributes of who makes a great candidate for the ALC, we have a lot of great tools at Keller Williams. And my default answer really is the agents in the Market Center that choose to live and embody the 6 personal perspectives. Now, there might be some of you that are newer to KW and you may have not heard of them, and yet I'll go through them super fast. Yet I look for agents who first and foremost commit to self-mastery. I look for agents who live and embody the 80-20 principle. They move from E to P, entrepreneurial, to being purposeful. They're learning-based. They remove limiting beliefs, and they're highly accountable. When we have agents on the ALC that embody and live the 6 personal perspectives, the ALC has been a lot more fun for me. And so I would invite you to be, cautious of not just letting anybody who raises their hands on the ALC, because sometimes the people who want to be on the ALC are actually not the ones that should be on the ALC. And I've made that mistake in years past, where just because they raise their hand doesn't mean they're the best fit. Now, there's 2 types of leaders out there. There's those leaders that are going to be proactive, which all y'all are on this call, and they're going to be proactive and craft a vision and a value proposition so strong that your top agents will be so excited to be on your ALC, and there's going to be leaders that won't. So Phil, with that being said, the thing that I'm going to be passing it off to you to talk on is crafting the leader's value proposition and vision so that we can attract the top of the top to the
before we get into that, you made such a key point. There's a giant difference here between sales and marketing, right? What marketeers look to do is to get bees around a honey pot. They say the honey's so sweet, let's see if you can turn up. Same is true when you're trying to recruit people into your team or bring people into your ALC. Like somebody raises your hand and you're like, good, warm body, come on down. Somebody that is happy to be able to carry their bag. Whereas what salespeople will do by alternative, and particularly the best ones, is they will choose their customers. Be honest with me for a second. Give me a yes, no in the chat. Do any of you have anybody in your ALC right now that you wish you didn't? Was that somebody that you strategically chose and said, I'd love to hang out with you more often? Love to be involved in providing more free therapy sessions to your life? Or is that somebody that chose you? So there's a strong reason why some of these people might be choosing to raise their hand to step into these environments. And one of those reasons could be that somebody else decided they didn't want them anymore. Somebody else wasn't giving them the attention in another area of their life, in their business in some ways. And if that is true, what else must be true is that you would be feeding on somebody else's waste, which is a little bit icky, right? Just imagine a scenario for me real quick is, imagine you're in a shopping center, and in that shopping center, you're shopping with a couple of kids alongside you. Can you imagine that? You got a couple of kids alongside you. You're walking through the shopping center and you see something in a store you quite like. As you walk towards that store that you quite like, you see something on a rack, you pick it off the rack and you turn around for the opinion of the children. And in that moment, kids are gone. My thoughts for you on that would be that most of you would be feeling like a state of panic and devastation and despair. At least two of you be thinking, yes, finally, peace. But then the realization kicks in, says, must find the people, must find the people, must find the people, must find the people. Knowing that you're looking to be able to find these children, how well would you describe them to a stranger in the street to increase your chances of finding them? You'd give everything, right? Hair color, eye color, what they were wearing, where they might look to hang out, what attributes, nicknames they might answer to, places that they might look to be able to frequent, things that could have caught their attention that allowed them to be able to wander. Whatever it might be, you know, the better the description that you can give, the more likely you are to be able to find those people quickly. Now, whether this is recruits, whether this is your ALC, whether this is just the people that you're looking to work with more often, can you understand this? They are missing people. That's what they are. And if you're looking to find the missing people in your life, you firstly decide who the missing people are. Want to get better at this, be choosy. And don't choose with a hypothetical viewpoint, choose with a precise viewpoint. Be crystal clear on who it is you're looking to attract. Be crystal clear on who it is you're looking to do business with. Be crystal clear on what good looks like. Many of you maybe have read the book by Simon Sinek. It starts with why. It's a great book. Many fantastic principles. But I don't necessarily agree with the title. I actually believe it starts with who. It starts with who. So if you are looking to develop your value proposition, you're looking to recruit more agents, you're looking to be able to find the rock stars in your team, it starts with who. What does this mean when we start to be able to make it practical? We start to think about, well, who are the people that we're looking to attract? Who are the people that we're looking to bring in? Well, why don't you answer that? Answer me that in the chat. Who are you looking to be able to attract? Who are your missing people? Give me this in the chat. Help me understand. Culture keepers, self-growth, proactive, drivers, rock stars, culture keepers, recruiters, growth mindset, positive energy, servant leaders, motivated, growth-led, positive people. There is absolutely zero things wrong with the points that you're putting here. Yet these are attributes. I can't spot them from a distance. Most of these things here are attributes that I can only get to understand once I get to know. Can't see them, can't recruit towards them, can't attract. Can only convince once I've got to be able to be face-to-face with these individuals, once I've got to learn to be able to know them. So what I would encourage you all to look to be able to do is to say, well, what are the outcomes you're trying to achieve in your business right now? And my imagination would be that all of those outcomes would lead to growth in some capacity, correct? You're looking to either grow your revenues, grow your market share, grow your head count, grow your conversion rate, grow your number of producers, grow your number of teams. These are all things that we're looking to be able to grow in some way, right? Growth is what is in our mind every single day. And growth comes from helping people solve problems. It comes from helping people solve problems. So we're going to play a game for a second. The only thing that you need to be able to do if you would like to be able to get better at articulating and communicating your value proposition is to understand that you're going to create a series of statements. And those statements are going to be statements that say, let me just back up a second. Let me take that there. And you folks see my screen split in half? This means yes. Your statements are going to read, I help X achieve Y. This sounds so insanely simple, but it's really freaking hard to be able to do. But nobody cares about what you do. They care about who you do it for and what problems you help those people solve. So give me something specific that we can jam on here in the group. Like, let's just take something here in the chat. Who could X be? Let's define our first X woman or man. See, it could be leaders, it could be agents, it could be rainmakers. Nobody defines themselves as a rainmaker. If you called yourself a rainmaker, that would be weird. And if you call somebody else a rainmaker, that would be weird. I know we do, but just think about it on a real language point of view. Weird. Humans, yeah, this is too many people. Lives, people, great. We're super generic. I want to think about, like, just take the recruitment angle for a second. Who'd like to have more people joining their organization? If you're looking to bring agents in, what type of agents? Is this a top producing agent? Is this a brand new agent? Is this somebody who's not yet an agent? Is this an aspirational agent? See, when you can add adjectives to your X, it starts to become a lot easier to understand what value you may appreciate for that person. Tell me as specifically as you possibly can, what could be an adjective that would describe the type of agent you'd like to be able to bring into your team? Bring into your market center. What would be the right adjective? Motivated, hungry, coachable, growth-minded. Again, these are attributes. Productive, agents grossing 750K annually. Cara, when you say you're looking for agents grossing 750K annually, you say that I want somebody who's going to be worth it to me. What you're saying is I want somebody who's going to pay me well. See, what we have is lazy self-serving language in all of this. Sean's going to help me out here, right? He's got his hand raised. I don't know if he did that on purpose, Sean. Was that on purpose or was that an accident?
It was on purpose.
So tell me, what are you thinking?
I'm looking for college students studying business who want to implement what they're learning in school and make money as a dual career agent.
Bingo, right? See, if that's the group of people that you might be looking for, and I'm not saying that's the right group of people, but I do know how to find that group of people. So Sean, stick with me here for a second. If that's the X, college students studying business that want to be able to get a practical application of what they're learning in the classroom, what can you help them achieve?
Graduating from college with no student loan debt.
Okay. And what else?
I mean, if they're getting into real estate, they're going to have a business out of going to school for business. They will.
If you could write a list of
job, they will
30 to 40 very practical things that those people would benefit from as a result of the experience that you would help create for them, could you do that?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Like practical things like a house, a car, savings, like things like that everyone looks for.
Look for tangible and intangible. You know, I help college students who are currently studying for a business degree that are looking for more practical application to enhance not only their learnings, but also to give them some more real world examples. And what I help them achieve is I help them achieve a genuine revenue stream throughout their college experience that often means in them not having any student debt, but more importantly, they get to meet a greater, higher level network of individuals that develop their skills in all areas of business. They get access and exposure to a variety of different areas of the operations of a business that they can carry into any future career. They get a resume that's enviable for anybody else that's their own age, should they be in the job market looking to be able to shop for something else. Worst case scenario, they could maintain their license into any other career where they could have a side hustle on real estate should they wish to. Worst case scenario, then, if they are looking to be able to buy a home by themselves, so that they won't have to pay real estate fees because they'll be paying them to themselves. You see where we're going with this? That's a way sharper value proposition than, hey, I'm looking, anybody want to join? Anybody want to be a real estate agent? You could earn up to 6 figures if you are kind and nice, etc., etc., etc. The work here is to do as many as you possibly can of I help X achieve Y. How do you do it? We get crystal clear on who the X is. And then in order to do the Y, you ask yourself, what are the biggest puzzles or problems that exist in that group of people? Let's say, for example, the X is experienced long-term agent in an independent brokerage. So they've been doing what they do for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. They've got a sustainable book of business. They are actively proud ambassadors to the indie brokerage that they're part of. And they maybe are a little lethargic, wondering what they're doing with the rest of their life. What problems exist in their world? Hit me up in the chat. Not enough access to training, no strategies for retirement, leverage towards the next step. They're possibly fearing burnout. You see, that problem is not, they don't have leverage. Leverage is the solution. The problem is burnout. The problem is overwhelm. The problem is no clear path of what else to do. The problem is that they feel like they're at the top of the tree and they have no more options. The answer is leverage. You don't sell the answer, you sell your knowledge of the problem. Circle is not big enough to grow. That is you explaining, again, what needs to change. And Nicholas says poor business planning, but the problem that they actually have is no future business plan. Kim, what are you catching here as we talk this through? How's this helpful when we're looking at relating this towards the roles of the people on the call today?
Yeah, I think it's really about getting clarity in the who you're looking for.
Yeah.
Because without clarity in exactly what that missing person looks like, everybody's going to look like a great option. And so I think that, that's one of the things that I'm hearing. And I think one of the questions that have come up for me, right, is so when you get clarity in this group of people of who exactly you're looking for, they're on the ALC. What would you say about keeping them engaged throughout the year? Because what I know is that we oftentimes get this group of people together and we call them our ALC. And then what happens is we have a first few strong meetings and then it just kind of like fizzles out. Jump in the chat box, say yes if that's ever happened to you. Or if it's just me, then it's a Kim problem. But yeah, see, it happens so often. And so Phil, what does it look like to create a value proposition so that they stay engaged the entire year versus just the first couple months?
Okay. Well, firstly, give me some context. What does stay engaged mean? You're all saying you'd like to have them stay engaged. How do we define engagement?
Would you like them to throw that in the chat box, or would you like me to answer?
Or you can tell me. You tell me,
Yeah.
and they can join the chat too. This is like a 300-way conversation all at the same time. We got it.
Yeah. So for me, engaged means they're showing up, they're showing up to meetings, they're raising their hand inside the market center, they're teaching, they have high energy, they're living the KW culture at all times. And, they're just overall, they're participating in what we have going on.
Okay. The question that would exist in my mind if I was a member of that ALC community is what's in it for me? Now, in early stages, it can be remarkably advantageous where I feel like there's an ego boost. I got invited to be part of a special club. Like, are they going to teach me the handshake? What's going to happen here? Like, how do I get to be able to use this to elevate my own personal status? Let me go find in, let me play all in. That's going to wane fairly quickly. So what is the responsibility of this squad of people inside the ALC? Let's just think this through together. Kim, keep answering this for me. And what I'm looking for is a picture out loud here as well. It's like what are we expecting from these people, in order to make this valuable to us?
So what we're expecting, and my experiences, they're great role models. Inside and outside of the Market Center, they demonstrate Keller Williams culture. They've raised their hand and they're excited to grow their business and their leadership lid, right? One of the goals of them being on the ALC is for us to give back to them, to help them, grow their leadership so that they in turn can implement that in their own business, right? So it's for them to be excited about growth, to help us grow, right? So one of the goals of the ALC is to help them get to 15 in their first line of profit share.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things and a lot of opportunities that we expect. Yeah.
Okay. So how do they know they're doing a good job?
Us communicating it, holding them accountable to it.
Okay. And accountability is a great word. But answer me this here in the chat. Who loves being held accountable? Hey, leaders, I want you to understand something really simple. People only do two things in life. One is what they enjoy doing, and two is what they get checked on. They're the only two things any of us will ever do. The stuff we love to do and the stuff somebody's going to check on up on us to be able to do. And accountability is a fabulous tool and a terrible incentive. It's a fabulous tool and a terrible incentive. As leaders, we've got to be able to work both those levers. Accountability that says, I see you, I'm checking on you, I'm measuring progress, I'm managing progress. But also what we've got to say is, let's make this fun for you. Let's make this worth it for you. Let's make this more enjoyable for you. And that means that you've got to understand enough about what enjoyment looks like towards those people. And that might mean that somebody enjoys stage time and awareness and blowing up their egos. So what do? You look to give them more stage time and more ego opportunities and the chance for them to be able to capture more content for their TikTok, right? Like that might well be something that then gives them the ability to be able to go to get what they want as well as get what they need. Because the accountability piece will be like banging something with a stick, banging something with a stick, banging something with a stick. It's good for a while, but it will wear thin after a period of time. So you need to be able to find those emotional connections that says, I'm giving you the parts that you like whilst you're here. And you'll probably find that everybody inside a leadership environment is looking for one of three things. And these are the three keys that can open any door in anywhere in the world. Three keys that would open any door. One is recognition. Two is a compliment. And three is the request of an opinion. If you're looking to drive engagement, and this could be used for both prospecting or leading your team, and you are looking to be able to be pulley and not pushy, you're looking for sincere compliments, sincere recognition, or sincere requests for people's opinion. All three of those tools will increase your engagement. And Kara, you're absolutely right. With specificity. How many times have you complimented people in your ALC, but the compliment was received cheaply? Hey, that was awesome. Thanks for everything you did today. Oh, you're welcome. Compliment. Hey, love what you're up to on socials right now. That looks cool. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. This is a superpower when executed to a high standard. Add specificity, be pulley, not pushy. And Jasmine here is asking for an example. So Jasmine, what kind of examples would you be looking for? Maybe you open your microphone up and let's see if we can workshop this together. Jasmine, you have the means of doing that?
I got it, Phil. I'm here with you.
Ah, it's a beautiful thing. So what are you looking for example-wise? Let's work.
So talk to me about recognition.
Okay. Give me an example of somebody you'd like to recognize.
So it's really just that simple. It's a matter of saying, hey, I saw that new listing that you had at 123 Main Street, absolutely beautifully staged.
Okay. And they
Or
say,
is it, congratulations, I saw that you exceeded your goal and you did it ahead of time. Am I tracking with the right way?
it's not wrong. These are solid 6 out of 10s, which is like a B plus, right? That's not bad. A B plus.
Okay.
If we're looking to be able to elevate, what you've got here is you've got a who, which is somebody who secured a new listing and presented it to the market fantastically. And when you saw it, you're like, dang, that looks hot, right? Like that's what you're thinking. That's the trigger that happened here is somebody in your market center secured a new listing and you're like, good for you. Plus I checked it out a touch and you brought that to market in a really stylish way. We could actually look at recognition. We could look at compliment, or we could look at opinion on this same impact. It's not which one of these three. We could actually do any one or all of the three on this. How would you recognize? Well, you might say, hey, Sally, I saw that you've got a listing that's just gone live on ABC Street in an XYZ location. And not only does it look stunning, but I remember back to 18 months ago when you said to me that you were only going to work the buy side and that listings felt like they were too overwhelming for you at this moment in time and that you didn't think you had it in you to be able to go and secure listings here by himself. I just want to catch a second and recognize how much you've grown in 18 short months, because I've seen you still have killer production on the buy side and you're now winning listings too. How did you go about making that change? What have you learned over the last 18 months period? Where was the kind of pivot point where you realized that you were going to get after this? What happened? Isn't there compliment, recognition, and opinion all in that same engagement? In our work at Exactly What to Say, what we teach people is the worst time to think about the thing you're going to say is in the moment where you're saying it. Any of you have seen me speak at Mega Camp, family reunion, etc. You might have heard me joke that from stage. It's not a joke. Deadly serious. As leaders, we're in the business of creating and maximizing moments. How many moments appear in your market center day in, day out that you deliver B+ responses to? And I think if we're all honest, we can answer that and say, we got some work to do. Because we favor efficacy, we favor like what makes life easy for us. And then we say, why don't we get like outrageous results? Yeah, what we're doing is putting like B+ efforts into it. If you want to get high level rewards, you've got to make more of the moments. You know, one individual that we all know, and Kim, we talked about this in our certification program, is Gary is fantastic at making moments count. I've seen what he does with 10 seconds with somebody backstage to give them 100% of their attention, to make them feel fully seen, fully important, and fully empowered to do what they're going to do next in 10 seconds. Yet sometimes we use 15 minutes badly with somebody that what we could have done is we could have made their day. And when it comes to looking at saying, how do you maximize engagement in your ALC? It's not one thing. It's all the things. And what it all comes down to is showing how much you care. It's leading with love. It's making more of the moments. And if you're not making more of the moments that are existing, sometimes it's making moments happen that weren't happening otherwise. It's being the creator of a moment. Let's even think about that recognition piece. There's times where recognition is the whisper in somebody's ear. There's times where recognition is the shouting from the rooftops. Your goal is to have enough emotional intelligence to understand when you should do one over the other. This is about knowing about people. Every single one of the people that you're looking to influence, what they are thinking is, tell me we're going to get to the part where it's about me. That's all they're thinking.
We know they think that.
Right? So
I mean,
make it about them. Like that's the cheat code. Is you have to help them realize, how them doing the thing that is most important for them in the world is, as a byproduct, going to help you grow.
I'll
It's
tell you
not-
where I struggle with that, where I see the line crossover, Phil, I'd love some feedback, is we're a larger brokerage. We have about 600 people, and sometimes they want us to care about everything they have going on. Like, look, you don't recognize me that I, participate in the cat shelter every week and that I help the homeless or whatever. And I'm like, isn't there a limit to what things we can recognize and what we can care about? To me, we're their business partner and we should be recognizing business things. I mean, there are going to be things that come up, like an agent pay off their house.
right.
We sent them flowers. We told them what a great thing that was, right? I mean, like, we are looking for those things, but how do we create a boundary around that?
Okay. Well, you cannot ignore what is important to other people and say, well, what I want you to be is less concerned about that so that you can be more concerned on my thing. So let's take that somebody loves to support the cat shelter. That's a noble thing for them to be able to do. Let's use opinion, let's use recognition, and let's use compliment. Now, what you can do in that scenario when you want to get it back to business is you can say, look, I think it's fantastic that you managed to be able to find time to be able to support causes that you care about. How do you go about structuring your business in a way that allows you to be able to still find time to deliver on passion projects like that? How do you go about structuring your business to mean that you don't drop the ball there so you can continually support the cats forever? Isn't that an opinion question? Because what I'm saying is I care about the fact that you care about the cats. But I'm asking you, how do you go about structuring your business in an efficient way that's going to allow you to continually be able to sustain the time, effort, and energy you put into something that's so important? Now I'm recognizing both things without saying, work your business, stop going to the cat shelter.
I don't want them to stop working at the cat shelter. I love that for them. They're mad at us that they feel like we don't have the capacity to care about everything they have going on in their lives.
Okay.
So they're making us the bad person when we're like, how would we possibly have time to understand the breadth of everything that you have going on in your life? So we really focus on recognizing on the business side.
Sure.
Somebody's asking me the follow-up question.
Which is?
I don't think they are tied to whether it's public or we call them or whatever. It's just that they want us to care so much about their personal life when I don't know how we would have the capacity to do that for 600 people.
Yep, I get it. I get it. Firstly, let's understand this is really hard. Right? That's why you have the job that you have.
Mm-hmm.
If it was easy, any fool could do it. And if it wasn't a big problem, we wouldn't even be in this call right now. Like, this is hard work. And what we're looking to try to do is to say, how do you get better at a thing that most people aren't even prepared to do? And that you're already all doing it to a decent standard already. That's why you're all here in this call, right? Let's just recognize that's where we're at. Not like anyone's broken. We're all working on better. And this is a hard thing. You are leading 600 cats, all going in different directions at different times, that all have a different value system, that all define success in slightly different ways. Recognize something simple. Success is just a feeling. People are not successful. People feel successful. Our job as leaders is to help people feel successful in whatever metric that feeling is measured most in their world, and then have that delivered to ourselves. There's two things here, though, from Stacey's point of view. One is the emotional conversations we have with ourselves, just to recognize that the big picture is the big picture, etc. We're all looking at the same thing from a different facet. That's true. The second thing that Stacey's bringing up, though, is how do we actually converse with somebody when they're saying, love me more, love me more, love me more, and they're demanding more from you than is actually reasonable within 600 people? So I'm going to take that second thing and I'm going to answer that second question to say, how do you converse with somebody who maybe isn't seeing it through the right perspective? And I'll try and do this easily with our role play cards. Some of you said that you wanted to know exactly what to say. So I reached for my box of role play cards, thought, how would I use these here? We have a section of cards called perspective changes. What we've got is a puzzle that Stacey said is people aren't seeing things from the same point of view. So what do we need to do? We need to shift their perspective. You say, well, what do you understand about the way we support all of the agents that exist here in the market center? And they say, well, I know you can't like the blah, 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 right? And they backpedal a touch. You say, well, what is your experience of all the ways that we have recognized those extracurriculars for both yourself and others through the years? Well, there was this time you did that, and this time you did that, and the time that you did the other. You get them to tell you did a fairly good job. You say, well, how important is it to you that my focus as your leader is on being able to make sure we don't drop the ball here and here and here and here and here and here? And they're like, that's remarkably important. You're like, well, how certain are you that if I was focused on all of the feel-good moments instead of those things, that would still be able to do the basics to a high standard consistently? They're like, yeah, I kind of get it. It's like, could it be possible that just like you're doing the best you can, I'm doing the best I can too? And they're like, yeah, I suppose so. I mean, when was the last time that you gave a 10 out of 10 in every area of what you were doing in your work? Well, I suppose I got some more to give too. I mean, how would you feel if you knew that, like, I really care as much as I can about every single person here in this market center? And I also care deeply that you're feeling that you're less than supported by us at this moment in time in the ways you'd like to be supported. But just imagine that, like, you putting your head down and getting to work and achieving great results is actually giving me more bandwidth to be able to love on you and other people in the market center more freely. And if you can just follow through on the plans that we've had created, then when we're together next time, I promise that what we'll do is we'll bring some light and attention to all those other great things that you have going on in your life. Could you do that?
Thank you. That's so helpful.
Phil, I just love in the chat box, Ashley asked, can we clone Phil because every market center needs a you? I love that.
Every market center needs a you. Like, that's what there is. And what I'm trying to show is that there is room for growth here. And much of what we're looking to change is what we're looking to be able to say is that these other people, they're the problem. If they could just, everything would be easier. And the one thing that you can control at all times is this guy when you look back in the mirror. And there's often a ton that we can do there before we have to worry about anybody else is up to. Like, there's a shopping list of actions that you could take for self that would move the needle. But before you get to the end of that list, you've got no time to be able to worry about other people's lists. And this might be a quick, useful exercise as well, Kim. I know we only got limited time here today, but what many of us find ourselves in is we find ourselves thinking in terms of blame, excuse, or denial. Like, if something isn't going well, it's somebody else's fault, not mine. Well, here's the reason why. Or, well, no, that's not happening in my market center. We're in blame, excuse, or denial. The other side of blame and excuse and denial is the opposite of denial is acceptance. The opposite of blame is is responsibility. And the opposite of blame is accountability. So don't blame, be accountable. Don't give excuse, take responsibility. Don't be in denial, take acceptance. And if you play this side of the line over here in everything you do, whether it's true or not, just accept that it's all your fault. You regain control. If it's somebody else's fault, and if it's because of, and if it's not really happening there, you've got no control. But when you've got acceptance, responsibility, and accountability, you've got full control. That's a thinking framework. But it should empower. Who has the role play cards? Because we think about, we're running these as like objection handlers for people to be able to work with people in open house. But did you just see how they could be used in the leadership conversation? They could be used as prompts to how you could think about asking rhetorical questions to a room full of people. They can be used as tools to navigate change or conflict or performance management conversations. They can be used to deflate a hostile situation. And what you should be seeing in every single one of these scenarios, if you follow any of my work, is that if you slow the process down, you'll speed the outcome up. And if you want to teach these tools to your agents, you best have enough personal experience first. What I see happen through leadership and Keller Williams and real estate in particular, when it comes to training things, is you take other people's work and then you jump straight to training other people's work. It's like karaoke. What you'll be better to do is to take some work that's inspired you, live it through your own life, garner your own personal experience, and then teach from experience. That's called influence. Don't be the bootleg Beatles, be Oasis. And then what you've got is ownership and acceptance of what it is you're teaching. And that becomes more empowering too. So Kim, where do we go from here?
So there's one thing that was mentioned in the chat box early on of what they wanted to walk away with. And I thought it would be a really awesome thing to jam out on for just a couple minutes before we wrap it up. And Ashley Lund posted in the chat box early on that one thing she wants to walk away with is how do we create certainty for our agents in uncertain times? Right now, with everything going on in the industry, would just love for, you to jam out for a few minutes on, what does it look like to help create certainty in our agents and with our agents, for our agents in these uncertain times?
Well, there's a tiny, massive question.
Yeah, it's a huge question that we've got 3 minutes on.
What do we do with that? So, how do you create certainty when we are in uncertain times? Well, for starters, when are we not in uncertain times? The answer to that question is never. In fact, the only thing I'm certain of is uncertainty. It's the only thing I know for sure. We're going to be in perpetual states of change for the remainder of our lives. The great thing for everybody in your industry is you're in the business of helping other people navigate change. Change creates chaos, change creates movement, change creates the need for differentiation. If we look at all that's happening with this buyer's agency representation piece right now, there are two types of agents that will do remarkably well through these changes. It'll be the great agents and the cheap agents. Those are the two markets that will thrive when chaos has been created like it has been. What I know here is that you've got rooms full of great agents. Those great agents need to educate consumers onto why they need a great agent. And you don't educate consumers by telling them. You educate consumers on help finding out what's real in their world. The best example and metaphor that I will give you right now to how to navigate this current chaos is look to the taxi cab industry when Uber and Lyft showed up. Here's what the taxi cab, minicab industry did when Uber and Lyft showed up. They spent years trying to fight litigation to say it's not fair. Why can't we go back to the way it used to be? What happened? All the time that everybody was wishing for it to go back to the way it used to be, Uber and Lyft were stealing market share. Why? Because they were listening to consumers. They weren't in competition with minicabs and taxis. They were listening to consumers and building a product that was more consumer facing. So don't be in the it's not fair camp, be in a let's get better camp. And how do you get better? You get closer to the consumers. How do you get in control? Well, you learn what's really going on. If I was leading a market center right now, the one activity that I'd have everybody focused on is build your 5 to 10 year pipeline. Not your 30, 60, 90, your 5 to 10 year pipeline. This means everybody you've ever spoken to and everybody that you could possibly speak to and any human being that you can get into a meaningful conversation with, they are now called a prospect. Every single one of them. Because I'm pretty darn certain that almost everybody over the age of 21 at some point in the next decade is going to make a move. If you do not know the immediate and long-term housing plans of everybody that you have in your database or would like to potentially do business with someday, expect to lose them to somebody who does. See what happens to confidence in a chaotic market. If you've got a 5 to 10 year pipeline and you're like, well, Jim and Sally are thinking of moving in the fall of 2027 when the kids are moving out of high school, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who I sold the house to in 2019, is they're probably going to downsize in 2028 because at that given point in time, then she's starting to take her pension payment and he's got like his money coming back in from his investments, and they're thinking that they're going to be able to move to there. Now, all of your conversations change. How would you feel as an agent if you could look at your CRM and be like, well, I think I've got 5 listings coming on board in 2028 at some point. They might be a little further forward. They might come back. And, you know, I'm working with 15 buyers that are probably not going to buy until spring or late summer of next year. What happens to confidence when you're back in control? The panic comes from wishing, waiting, hoping, and praying. And although hope is a strategy, hope isn't the strategy. Like, being hopeful is a good attribute. It will be helpful to be hopeful, but we can't just rely on hope. What we have to do is to help people feel in control. There's a lot they can be in control of. And some of the things that we do that put them out of control is we ask them to do things that set them up to fail. I might be out of line here right now, but I'll say things like, when you say to people, like, you have to make 100 calls to find yourself 10 appointments to meet 3 people that are going to maybe buy one thing, we ask people to do something they don't want to do, that doesn't work that well, that they suck at, that doesn't get the results that they were hoping for, and then say, well, why don't you feel successful? Wouldn't we be better to say, hey, can you maybe find a way to interact with 20, 30, 40 people today that you enjoy interacting with, and just look to learn like what perhaps potentially they might be thinking about maybe doing at some point in the next 5, 10 years with their housing needs? Just so that you can understand how to serve them better with content, invite them to the right kind of events, catalyze what information you can provide to them on drip email campaigns. Those same people will trip over new business purely because they're being human. And this buyer's representation setup, do you know what it's asking for? Buyer's representation. So please represent buyers before they realize they need buyer representation. Then buyers will be happy to pay for representation. It's that easy. But it requires a reframe in thinking. And that's what leadership is. Helping people see things from different perspectives. I showed you some ways you could do it with these, just to think about communicating differently. Kim, did that answer the question?
I believe so. Ashley, if it didn't, you can unmute yourself. You know, as we are going to be closing out in just a few minutes, I would love for everyone to put some ahas they got from this event in the chat box. Would love just to see kind of some of the things that you took away. And while you guys are putting those in the chat box, Phil, do you want to go ahead and share what we have planned coming up?
Kim loves you guys. She loves what can be done with leadership. She shared that she came out to our 2-day certification experience in New York City that was focused in a variety of different areas. And she's like, this would be super cool if we could do something for just leaders, where we could take the full curriculum of exactly what to say, empower leaders in a way that had them understanding the method behind the madness in being able to communicate in the high stakes moments. She said, well, what would it take? What would it take? What would it take if we could put something on that we could lead together for the leadership community? And I said, well, I'll do it if people want it. And I'll do it if you want to do it with me. So Kim said, all right, I'll do it with you. So what I've done is I have secured a venue for a 2-day experience just for leaders in New York City, where we're going to be running an immersive program around knowing exactly what to say in all the moments that matter. We're calling it a certification around the language of leadership. It's something we're working on in its entirety. But I don't know for sure if we're definitely going to run it. I'm going to run something on those 2 days, and it's going to be a great event. We want to know whether you want the same event that we think would be a good idea. So firstly, do you think that that would be something that you could benefit from? Is a immersive experience led by me with the support of Kim, helping leaders be better leaders? Because if so, we've built the most crude, we decided this, like, she pushed me for it today. So I've booked the venue, we've got the deposit down, and etc. It's amazing space. But I built like a landing page for this. And I say I've built, somebody in my team built a landing page for this that has no information on it other than this is the date, this is where it's at, and this is how you can confirm your interest. So I'm going to punch that into the chat, Kim, if that's useful.
I already did. Yep.
Already did that.
Yep.
If anybody misses it in the chat, hit me a message on my Instagram. I'll send it to you. But here's the deal. I normally run this program for $5,500 a head. And we're going to run it for up to 100 leaders within the KW network to get together on these dates that I mentioned here. I'm going to do it for $2,500 a head. So that's what Kim is pushing towards. What we put on the page is you can just confirm your seat if you want to put just $1,000 down, balance to be payable prior to the event in March of next year. So there is some leeway there if cash flow management is a challenge to any of you. But what I've said to Kim is if 50 or more people say yes in some capacity on that in the next 24 hours, we'll run it and we'll build it out as the most advantageous leadership group in the language of leadership that's possible. And also, if we are going to run this through to your support at family reunion, we'll put a like pre-game get together. What are the critical conversations that matter? Happy hour, get together, social, sort of meaningful event is like a pre-event for when we're together in March for those of you that look to be able to pre-register. So it's no pressure. I want to run it if you want it. And if more than 50 people do it, that's what's happening. If 32 people do it and I look at it and it's not happening, then I'll just refund all of you your money. But I hope that that's not the case. I hope we get to do this, and I hope we get to do something that really changes the game, because this is it's a really interesting time in the industry. And in times like this is your chance to steal market share. I want you to recognize that that's what this time is. Because actually, what are agents looking for right now? Leadership. And what does Simon Sinek say about leaders? Is they're called leaders because they go first. So it is about taking that change and not looking behind you for clues, but looking forward and saying, how do we carve out what's next? And how do we excite people about the vision that we lay down for them to follow, not asking them why they're not doing as they're told.
Cool.
We are over on time. I'm just looking at what I have scheduled next on here as well. I do have 17 minutes before I have another commitment. I appreciate that some of you might have places to bounce to, but I'm okay for the next 17 minutes. If there are any special questions, anything anybody wants to ask, we can kind of have an after hours, office hours. If there are questions, punch them in the chat, open up your microphone and share them here. We can do a little casual afters. Kim, do you have capacity for that too?
I do. Yep. So if you have to run to your next thing, run to your next thing. Otherwise, Phil and I will hang out for the next 15, 16 minutes and answer any questions y'all have about anything we talked about today.
I see here, Megan's asking, how do you learn confidence in becoming a leader and growing into that leadership role? Well, Megan, why don't I ask Kim, how did you grow your confidence through your leadership journey? And how did that affect the roles that you were able to grow into?
Yeah. So for me, confidence has come from repetition, right? When I first started doing anything inside of the team leader space and leadership space inside of Keller Williams, I wasn't that it was good sometimes, it was not good. And yet what I know is that when I kept getting back up from failure after failure after failure, that's where resilience was built. And that's how I became confident. And so confidence in leadership and confidence in the roles that, you're in comes from just taking massive action. Because if we don't take massive action, what happens is fear grows. And so we eliminate fear by taking massive action. And so what I would encourage is to build confidence, whatever it is an area that you're looking to grow confidence in, go take massive action and alter along the way. So that's kind of the best way that I would answer that. Phil, do you have anything to add to that?
I think it's a fantastic answer. I would add one more thing is have a mentor and be a mentor. Both. When you're on your journey for finding increased confidence, then what you need is somebody you can look up to that's been there and done it, that you can use as a sounding board, that can help you understand that you're not broken, can help you see around corners, and can give you tools that you don't have in that given moment. And I think all of us know that. There's many of those that exist within the Keller Williams network that you have access to fantastically. The miss that many of us forget, though, is that we also have to be a mentor to others. How do you learn and find greater confidence in things is by teaching it to others. How do you understand what you have is down pat and is valuable to others? By sharing it with others and them saying that was remarkably useful. You get that positive reinforcement that the advice that you shared with others was valuable to them, therefore it must be good advice. You need to do both. And that's why I like working in small groups sometimes. And I would encourage you to be able to build more of your own small groups outside of your immediate market center, that what you have is the chance to be able to talk into somebody and have other people talk into you so that you can find the clarity and growth that you're looking for. I'm also going to give another piece of very direct advice that I think is important to understand, particularly when it comes towards confidence, is if you have confidence before experience, what you actually have is arrogance. Confidence can only exist with experience, because what true confidence is I've been in situations like this many times before. I've seen every which way it could go, so I got this. So understand that to grow your confidence, you have to grow your experience. That's where that's going to come from. And I'd also include just another contextualizing point. And I mentioned earlier how many different industries I've worked in and how many different great leaders I've had a chance to be able to work with and get to meet. And I've realized something really cool is nobody knows what they're doing. 0 people actually know what they're doing. What you're looking at is people are doing the best they can with what they've got to achieve the most meaningful outcomes that they can, given the resources, tools, and attributes that they have around them. And I share that with you to hopefully empower. That when you're looking for the right way, the perfect way, the best way, what should I? There probably isn't a playbook to give you the absolute right answer. And I know we love our playbooks here at KW. They're guides. These are tracks to run on. These are options. These are choices. But the next playbooks that will be written in 2027 will be the capturing of decisions that haven't yet been made by people like yourselves. You are currently writing the 2027 playbooks with your actions that you are taking today. And take confidence in the fact that we're all making this up as we go along.
Hey, Phil, something else that popped up in the chat box was how do we best serve and lead the top of the top 20% to give value in their business? Exactly what do we say?
Wow. The top of the top. What do we say to the people who are the top of the top? Well, what do the people at the top of the top like to hear?
How amazing they are.
Sometimes. What else do they like to hear? Sean's going to chip in here as well. He had good to share last time. I'm hoping for a brilliance again this time, Sean.
Sorry, ask the question again.
I was saying, what do the people at the top of the top like to hear?
The same thing as everybody else. Stuff about themselves.
Yeah. They want recognition, compliments, and to be asked their opinion. But they want recognition for the things that matter to them. They want compliments to be seen. They want to feel like their efforts are seen. And they want to be asked their opinion on things that they feel that their opinion is differentiated versus the opinions of others. That's how you help those people. But what we sometimes do with the people at the top of the top is we ask them to do things that are actually in complete contrast to what would make them feel happy. So we say like, hey, we'd like you to come and run a training on blank. And they're like, well, the reason I'm at the top of the top is because I don't come to trainings, let alone deliver trainings, is because I'm out there in the field and I'm like working with my sphere day in, day out. And you want me to spend 3 hours in a classroom teaching people that don't want to do the work to do the work? So it ends up being counter. What you might be better to be able to do is to recognize that the reason this person is the top of the top of the top is because of their daily disciplines. And what you might ask them to be able to do is to say, hey, like, could I just ask you a couple of questions, and they're like, yeah, sure. And you can do this a few ways. You could say, hey, will you just take a typical week of yours, your schedule, your daily, your weekly routine, and will you map it out in a way or present it to us in a way that we can map it out, that we can use your example to other people at the market center? We could take your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we can show them what a week of your work looks like. Yeah, they're like, yeah, I'll do that. Or you could say, how would you feel about, sitting down for a podcast interview to learn about the habits and routines that you put into practice to allow you to be able to perform at your best? I run podcast programs internally into some of the biggest companies in the United States of America. And these live inside their LMSs, inside their learning management systems. They're not available in public domain. And I interview them in a series called Bottling Brilliance. We take between the 8 and 20 top producers inside their organization, and I interview them for their story to create the equivalent of ride-alongs for new recruits in induction or underperforming people inside those business, to give a resource to the field management team that if somebody's underperforming, it's go listen to this conversation with Jimmy who's crushing it. And then let me know what you take from that conversation that you think you might be able to do differently as a result of learning from somebody at the top of their game. See how easy that would be to do? But if you were the top of the top of the top, how would you feel about somebody saying, I recognize you're the top of the top of the top. Can we sit you down and make it in a great studio environment? Make it sexy, make it beautiful, feature them on your social media, talking towards what matters. And now what you're doing is giving them leverage, giving them gravitas, helping grow their personal brand, and in turn, growing yours. That's what I would do. Got a nice thumbs up there from Renee. Thank you.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Shoot.
So in your books, and even in the beginning, you were talking about, you went from like different industries and you brought the same topic into those industries. You translated them essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say, or an action step for someone, because we kind of have that in our world, right? So an agent wants to break into a new niche, but they don't feel valid in that niche. But the concepts are no different from luxury to sports and entertainment to land to, it's all the same concept. So how do you help them build that confidence in that translation to take that step?
Question. It's a great question. The entry into any new market is through the side door. It's not through the front door, and it's not through the back door. So catch the metaphor on what I mean. You're not going to be able to move from I've never done a luxury transaction to like, I'm going to go and knock on the door of all the high value homes in my neighborhood and tell them why I could be the best luxury agent for them. That's going to be a fool's game. Similarly, you're not going to sneak attack your way into being able to be the latest luxury agent when what you've been doing is rentals in your neighborhood. But I tell you what you could do is you could find the 12 to 15 top luxury agents right now, and you could develop a play that I would call a Trojan horse. What would I do is I would do a research project around the luxury marketplace, and I would interview luxury agents about what makes a luxury agent and what difference they provide in a luxury market that is different, and how did they go through their journey to pivoting towards luxury. I'd write it up into a giant blog post, a big Instagram like series or some form of white paper, and say, here's what I learned about what it takes to be able to be luxury. And I would curate my experience of being a great luxury agent. And I would start to build evidence about the difference between different types of agents, and I would showcase being a luxury agent. Then I'd start to be able to rub shoulders with those luxury agents in a networking type of point of view, is I'd try to be seen in the same kind of circles of them. Then before I know it, the marketplace is going to think I'm a luxury agent. Could you do that?
Yeah.
What you need is a resume. For any new market you want to break into, your resume has got to say that I either care enough about this or I've got enough experience in this area to be accepted for the gig. And most people, they've got the want and the desire to win the job, but they didn't build the resume that gives them the right to want the job. And let's just say, for example, that you want to do more business in sports and entertainment. Is like build a YouTube channel about the things that people don't know about the struggles and challenges that people in the sports and entertainment industry have about finding homes. Show people behind the curtain of how difficult it is for somebody to move from one side of the country to the other side of the country and have to be on the training field on Thursday and have to be ready for game day on Sunday, and help them understand behind the scenes what some of the things that real estate agents do to try to make the life easier of high-performing sports stars. This is simple. It's empathy. And empathy is to care about what the people you care about care about. So build a body of evidence to say you care about the puzzle that you're trying to solve. And that quote of care about what the people you care about, don't quote me on it. It's not mine. It's John Acuff's quote. And what I like about these approaches, Sean, is they are easy to execute, but they're really freaking hard to do. And you got to commit to it over a period of time. You can't half-ass it. You've got to go all in. And what often happens with things like this, and this is great for us to understand from a leadership point of view, is people want what they think being a luxury agent is. People want what they think being in sports and entertainment is. Because what they think is it's like a fast pass to easy money. You have to test as a leader. It's like, do you want a fast pass to easy money? Because I don't think that exists. Or do you actually want to work with luxury buyers and sellers in the luxury market? And if they want to work with luxury buyers and sellers, the project is exciting. If they want the easy button, the project looks like work, just like the work they're not doing right now. And you get to them find out real quickly, no, actually what they are is just a lazy MF looking for the easy button, and they have to own up to it. Because if they won't do the research project, they won't do anything else. And I see this all the time in my industry where people are like, I want to be a speaker and work on stages. And how do you do it? And I give them the exact playbook of what they would need to do to be able to succeed in this. And they say, well, that looks like hard. I'm like, yeah, I know. Welcome to the last 15 years of my life. And the reminder is that if it was as easy as people would like it to be, everybody could do it. So take joy in the fact that it's hard, because the fact that we can all do hard things, that insulates, because most people don't want to do hard things. But I think sometimes as leaders, you can deflect the responsibility of other people's success by helping them realize they're not prepared to do what it takes to be successful. You can't make them do stuff. You can just help them see what it would take and then see if they've got what it takes. And then that way you should sleep better at night, being like, well, actually, not my fault. It's all on you. What I would say, though, is also just a useful takeaway for everybody on thinking frameworks as leaders is, if you're struggling with somebody's giving you a bad time and it's affecting your days, there are very few problems that can't be solved with the right number of new customers, new team members, new opportunities, new clients, new events. So sometimes by shifting your focus away from fixing the problem and saying, I'm going to displace the problem with 7, 8, 9, 10 new pieces of good news, that can shift up your vibe, shift up your movement, shift up your day, mean that your bedtime routine is better. And you're not responsible for carrying other people's misery. You're responsible for showing them the contrast of what's possible. And it's worth never forgetting that it's far easier to give birth than it is to raise the dead. One happens every day repeatedly all around the world, multiple times. The other is still scientifically impossible. Please don't try to raise the dead. Get busy giving birth to new. Summer's
Phil,
right.
if you have time for one more, do you have time for one more?
I have one more.
All right, one more. What are some of the great leading they love the idea of building a 5 to 10 year pipeline. What are some of the great leading conversations into your database, perhaps with folks you've lost touch with?
I'd come back to role play cards. I'd write an OFQ, which is opening fact question. Hey, it's Phil calling from Keller Williams. You probably don't remember me. 3 years ago, we worked together on potentially looking to be able to help you find a home in the ABC location, or we did successfully manage to be able to get you a home in the 123 Main Street location. So we're going to give some form of fact that show that we know them. And then I'm going to ask a simple, easy to answer question. That easy to answer question would be, are you guys still living in the home? And they're going to say, well, yeah, we are actually. I'll then take a past, present, future arc, and I'd say, well, how's the home been working out for you over the last 3 years? And they're going to tell me. I'm going to say, well, what do you got going on with the home right now? And give a present question, and they're going to tell me. And I'm going to say, well, what plans do you have for the home for the future? Are you here for the long term? Are you planning any remodeling? You got any other further, perhaps, potential thoughts about what you might be doing next? But you see the playfulness in the language. Perhaps, possibly, maybe looking to, I'm creating a stammer in the ask to give them the permission to be able to then stammer their answer back in the other direction. Well, we're not sure exactly what we're going to do. Like, we like the house, but we don't love the house. And, the kids like their school, and it's kind of going all right, but I don't think we're going to stay here forever. We haven't given any immediate thoughts to what timeline might looking to do next. We're not going to do anything soon, maybe a year or two. Right? And now you're like, a year or two? That's pretty freaking soon. Got it. And what you then say is you say, well, let's just do this with some method, shall we? You say, well, what do you understand about what your options would be at that given point in time in this kind of market? They say not much. You say, well, what is your experience of current market conditions and the impact it's having on houses like yours? They say, well, I've seen this and I've seen that, and my estimate says blank. You say, well, how certain are you that you are definitely going to want to make a move at some point in time in the next few years? They say, well, pretty certain. I say, well, how important is it to you to have the right information so that you can make more informed decisions? And they're going to say it's pretty darn important. You're going to say, well, when was the last time that you had somebody come and share with you what your home would be, accurately valued at in a market like the one we're in right now? They say, well, we haven't had anybody around forever. You say, well, have you done some improvements? Have you made any changes since we sold it to you 3 years ago? They say, yeah, we've done loads. We've painted the kitchen cabinets and changed 4 doorknobs, and we finally cut the yard. Great, great. You say, well, could it be possible that your home might be worth even more than you think it would be? I say, I guess so. You say, well, how would you feel if I was to just drop down round one day next week and share with you from our research what a home like yours could be worth, and see the home and the upgrades that you've made to it, so that we've got an understanding of what they could be adding to its value too? Because, just imagine you do see something that you'd love to be able to move to, and that you don't have enough information to know how you would be able to execute a move. And if you're open to it, then, I'd be really delighted to just put you into a more knowledgeable situation so that you feel armed with all the facts as and when you're looking to make a move. So when would be a good time for me to drop round next week? That's what I'd say. That work? What we're seeing is it's slow and it's elegant and it's helpful and it's considerate and it's meeting people where they're at, as opposed to try to get them to where you want them to be. And for those of you that come join us in the event in New York City, I'm going to teach you that method. I'm going to teach you how to do that with 32 sequences of words. And I think that's why the likes of Kim and many other great leaders inside KW have decided to come and immerse themselves more in this work, because it's not that you're doing it badly right now. I just want to teach you how to access bonus levels.
Cool.
I am going to have to bounce. I got to be on a TV interview in 5 minutes. That'll be fun.
Get them. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have an amazing rest of the week, and we hope to see you in New York.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.